Hi everyone, I am Rebecca Siciliano, the Managing Director at Tiger Recruitment.
And I'm Angela Lopes, Director and Head of Tiger City Office. Thank you for joining us today for our first LinkedIn Live. Today, Rebecca and I will be talking about the recruitment market and giving a general overview of the market in London.
So first of all, I'm just going to give a quick summary of some of the things that we've seen in the media that have been quite interesting, mainly because they've resonated with us and what we're seeing right now as well. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is news that there's been a 0.6% growth in the UK economy over the last 3 months. And also we've obviously seen interest rate decreases too. The other interesting bit of news for me was around stats on the employment market and the fact that the employment rate has risen, and that's been driven by part-time vacancies and those roles being filled. Angela, how would you say that relates to what we're seeing?
Yeah, I think July, August is notoriously a more challenging couple of months just because it's very much quieter over the holiday period. Processes are considerably slower. And I think also in turn, a lot of positions get put on hold until September when people start to return back to the office. I think when you look in comparison to last year, where it was a very temp heavy market, I've definitely seen this year a far bigger increase in the number of permanent opportunities, which I think is really reassuring in the market.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think, I've both been doing this for long enough to know that when you see the permanent hiring over temporary hiring, it's because there is increased confidence in the market and what it's doing. So I think that's definitely something that we've seen. I think as well, like this year, it seems like it's happened a lot more than in previous years, but there've been a lot more clients that have been changing briefs midway through recruitment processes. So those employers are basically reassessing what the needs are in the business and saying, hold on a second, should we change this role? Should we add in some other responsibilities? Should we take out some? So that seems to be happening a lot, which can be really frustrating for job seekers that are looking. Yeah. And the other thing obviously is those part-time opportunities. Like we 100% have seen a lot more part-time opportunities, and it seems to be like different reasons. Like some of it has been newly created roles, but then there've also been a lot of employers that are coming to us and saying, look, we want to recruit for this role. However, we can't sort of see it being a full-time position. We only think we need someone part-time. And I know, Angela, you've got some sort of thoughts on why that might be the case as well.
Yeah, I mean, echoing what you were saying, definitely I've seen an increase in part-time opportunities, even in the last few months in comparison to previous years since COVID. And I think a lot of what I'm hearing as to why these roles are becoming available, I think are also, it's contributed to the fact that a lot of offices are going back 4 or 5 days a week. So pre-COVID, everyone was 5 days in. From COVID, there was hybrid working. So those that were part-time often were able to work full-time because they had flexi hours, flexi working in the office. Now with that taken away, I think a lot of candidates have had to reevaluate and move back to part-time, which, I haven't seen that all of the part-time roles have necessarily been job shares, but I've definitely seen more of them coming back on the market, which, it's great for part-time candidates if, considering there wasn't those opportunities, I think 12 months ago.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the other big shift I've seen is the reasons that job seekers are looking for new roles. So I think, before it was all about salary, but now we're only really seeing that from candidates that are in markets outside of finance. So typically in the finance industry where it might pay a little bit higher, those job seekers are coming through saying, I want to find a new role because I want the work-life balance, I want the hybrid working, and I'm not getting that now. Whereas candidates that we're seeing come through from other industries that are seeking, they're the ones that are still looking for a new opportunity because they want the increase in salary to keep up with, inflation and cost of living and things like that.
Yeah, and I think in addition, one of the key drivers as well is the culture. And I think those that aren't necessarily looking because of salary and their paid market rate, it's because perhaps there's been changes in personnel or company merger restructures, and they've had increased workloads. They've not hired to potentially replace past employees, and so all those things have led to them deciding, now's the time to let's explore and see what's out there, and that is the main reason why they're looking.
Yeah.
So it's all really interesting how it all, I think, plays a part, a bit of a puzzle in many ways.
Definitely. And we did some work on this earlier in the year, but I think we're seeing more employers coming up with these personalized benefits and things like that. On the whole, like, benefits packages are looking good, and I think the work that companies have put into that is really paying off now. Going on to sort of challenges for job seekers, I think, that challenge is just there's not as much movement. So, we've said some of the key reasons that people might be looking. Could be salary, it could be, the hybrid working, the work-life balance. But otherwise, like, sort of on the whole, a lot of people are sort of staying put, and we're not seeing that much movement in the job seeker market, and especially at that sort of top level, like, candidates aren't moving around as much. And I think some of that is probably a result of, if someone is leaving a role, then companies, again, are just reevaluating, do they need to rehire for that same position? In some cases, they are moving existing staff up and giving them opportunities to progress in their roles, and then hiring into more junior positions within the company. And, just generally companies looking at sort of the way they're operating, and, are there any sort of cost cutting or, cost saving exercises that they can sort of take advantage of from hiring from within as well.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm hearing all the positive noises that, we're just waiting for that tap to fully open. The roles are trickling through, and I feel that it's consistently steady with opportunities, but when are they all going to be coming through at once? When will that be? And I think certainly when speaking with a lot of job seekers, it's, we know that it is going to turn, but it's really knowing when. And I guess it's just really I think part of the narrative this year. It's just been pretty unpredictable at times, where you think, it's slowing down, and suddenly there's an influx of opportunities. So it's really hard to, I guess, manage expectation entirely, because it's hard to know.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, like, where a lot of job seekers might find it difficult too, is they're seeing these jobs advertised, but I know we're seeing, like, employers are being really particular about the people they're bringing into the business. And in a lot of cases, they want to hire like for like. They want to try and get people that have been in the same role, in the same industry. And there's not as much, I guess, openness to looking at those transferable skills and people that could, come from a different industry, different area, and bring new skills. They really want to hire that like for like person. Again, I'm not sure if that's something you've seen too.
Well, yeah, I do, and I think that's the luxury that employers have at the moment. It's a market that's better suited and geared to them as it stands. But I think, on the flip side, job seekers, they are also being equally selective, and they're not just moving at the first job offer, and it's taking into all the different hybrid working, work-life balance, the money, culture, all of those things. But I think in addition as well, they want to, often work for big names and companies that I think they perceive to perhaps be a bit more secure, versus a startup, let's say, that's unknown.
Yeah, definitely. And again, for the employers that are looking, the things that they're looking for in the candidates they're hiring, like, they want to see the reputable brands on, paper, tenure, things like that. So there's a lot of those considerations that employers are making when they're hiring too. The other, obviously, with things like, we see a lot of candidates that have been in those temp positions as well, where I think if companies can see someone has gone into a role and they've been temping and they've been extended, or they've been offered temp to perm, that often really, bodes really well for prospective employers to see that someone has gone in, proven themselves, done a good job, and that they'll still give those candidates the opportunity.
Absolutely, like maternity contracts and seeing out the duration of the contract, not leaving midway through, things like that absolutely play, I think, a huge part in the decision-making process as well.
Yeah.
What do you see to be the biggest challenge for job seekers over the next 3 months?
I think it's probably just that it is an employer's market at the moment, and I think what we're seeing is, there are a lot of candidates that might have been looking for a job two or even 3 years ago, and they're now coming back onto the market, and it's a very different landscape to what it was back then. So candidates looking sort of a couple of years ago were inundated with job opportunities. We were seeing really big salary hikes, and I think maybe those candidates that saw the salary hikes, they're looking for the next hike, and it's just not there. Taking a lot longer to find something. The salaries are pretty static at the moment as well, and I would say we're probably seeing people that are leaving for the same salary or a very slight increase compared to sort of the 10% increase on salary.
Yeah, which I guess it's different amongst the different sectors, but I think across the board, it's definitely a far more, it's plateaued and a stagnant market in that respect with salaries. So we'll see over the next 3 to 6 months what happens. I guess we need to magic ball. Thank you so much for everyone for joining us today. We've got a contact email at the top of the screen, so if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Rebecca and myself, and we'll be in touch with our next update soon.
Thank you.